This is Beyond with Heather Tesch, where we examine near-death experiences and life itself, hopefully making this life a little better. Once again, my guest is Sky Waterpeace. You can find links in the description for parts 1 and 2, where he shared his incredible near-death experience. But this one can actually also be watched as a standalone episode. And it is worth watching just for his parting words. It's all interesting, but I especially loved his parting words. At IANS, when I was listening to your talk, you said that if we could see the energy that flowed between each one of us, we would be astonished. So what do you mean by that, and how do you know?
Well, I know because I've experienced it. One of the beauties of meditation is that you don't have to die to get this type of. I did because I was so stubborn, right? But you don't have to. It's actually accessible, And I mentioned the Monroe Institute. I'm a trainer, an outreach trainer for the Monroe Institute, and the Monroe Institute has this sound technology that when you meditate with their Monroe sound science. It actually adjusts the special sound waves, adjust your brain waves in such a way to align your brain waves with a certain predefined state. So you can go to sleep, you can use it for anesthesia in surgery, but importantly for me, you can use it for meditation. And I don't have to go to a temple and study for 10 years to do this. I can put on the headphones. It's available on an app now. I mean, it's amazing. And so you can have these profound experiences, these deep experiences of meditation, these expansive experiences without having to die first, right? It's sort of convenient, So getting to your question about this, if we could, I had forgotten that I said that, but it's very true. If we could just experience for a moment the connection between any of us, it is like astonishing. And I know that from personal experience, like Bob Monroe said, it goes from a belief to a known. When you believe something, you go out and experience it. Bob Monroe famously said, "Don't believe a word that I say. Go out and experience it for yourself, because then you won't need to believe me. You will know from your own experience." And I was blessed, with these experiences of near-death experiences. And then since then, I've sought out expansive experiences in consciousness, like through meditation and retreats and things like that. What I mean by this profound connection between things is because you can get a little bit of it if you. One practice that's helpful is releasing judgment, right? We don't realize, because we're so in it all the time, that, who I think of myself as being as a human is made up of like a list of judgments. It's like, I like coffee. I don't like this. I like this. I don't. These are all judgments, right? And it's makes sense, because the human brain is a judgment machine, right? The human brain is designed as part of this very well designed robot probe or whatever. Like, it's designed to keep the body alive so it can collect more information, right? And so I need to be able to judge. If I'm in the wild and there's a sound, I need to be able to discern, is that a squirrel or is that a tiger about to get me? So I need to judge things. I need to judge things rapidly. And once I've figured out that particular sound sounds like tiger, it makes sense to me to sort of judge in advance. Sounds like tiger, because if I make a mistake and if I think it sounds like squirrel and it's a tiger, I'm in trouble, right? So the system, which is designed for a very good purpose and very well designed, starts to, in modern society, not work the way it was intended to work, in some sense. And I start judging things that don't make any sense to judge, because that's how the system is designed. It's designed to save me from tiger. So therefore, if I make mistakes and I think things are dangerous when they're actually not, well, at least I'm erring on the side of safety and things like that. But the point is, we live in this milieu of judgment. So much so that we start to identify with the character that I've created. I've created a character, Sky Waterpeace, mathematician, professor, author, mystic, blah, blah, blah. But this is not who I really am, right? This is all a set of characteristics, identity markers, labels, etc. So what we can do is we can stop, and it comes through like acceptance. Like I always tell people, if you want to experience pure bliss, I mean, the closest thing to that expansive consciousness, see if you can get for 1 second that everything in the universe is exactly how it is. Like it just is. And get it like that's it, that everything is exactly the way it is without labeling it as anything. It's not good, bad, yellow, anything. It just is. And if you can take a step back and observe that everything is exactly the way it is without then labeling it as things, there's this moment where you get this like, oh, like it's astonishing. So, of course, the trick is how do you learn to do that, right? Meditation is very helpful for that, but you really can do it at any time. It's like pause and just observe, because I am not the subject and I am not the object. I am the observer. I am the consciousness that is having this experience. And so if I just pause, and you can do it anywhere you are, maybe not do it while you're driving or something, right? For those of you listening on the road right now, please continue to pay attention to the other traffic, right?
Yes.
But I can just take it in. And, we get this as humans, when there's a sunset, right? Or something like that, there are these moments, or a baby smiling, you know what I mean? Or whatever, or when you're gazing into your lover's eyes, we have these moments where we do just take it in. And so even if a person has sort of forgotten how to connect with that, we remember that we have done this. And what is, when I'm looking at, when I'm looking at my wife and I'm looking at her eyes and having that moment of connection, and just taking her in, where does that come from? It's because I stop judging everything. I stop labeling everything. I stop saying, even you're beautiful, I love you, are labels, right? I just take it in. I just take in the experience. And when I take in that experience, it's like there are no labels, which means there's nothing interfering with the connection between me and the experience. And that connection is, like, you could call it love. That's what love fundamentally is the connectedness of all things. And so in that moment, I can have this often brief, but you can learn to extend it, moment of connection. You can learn to cultivate more of that sense, and I think the cultivation comes from gratitude. I got in meditation that gratitude is the fundamental harmonic of the universe. And what that means is that, like, it's like in the old radios, where I guess they still have them, but, you tune into like a certain megahertz, 97 megahertz or whatever. And on 97 megahertz, they fluctuate the frequency a little tiny bit, and your radio interprets that in a certain way and produces the sound program or whatever, right? So the 97 megahertz is the fundamental harmonic. It's the main thing on which everything else is being carried, right? Gratitude, I got in meditation that gratitude is the fundamental harmonic of the universe, that everything, love is connectedness between things, but that the carrier signal to allow the connectedness is gratitude. And that's it. And it's true. It's like, why do I look at the sunset and think it's beautiful and have this moment of awe? Because I'm grateful for it. I'm whether I call it that or not, that's what's happening. I'm being, oh my God, this is beautiful. That's same thing with a lover. It's like, oh my God, they're so beautiful, or they're so funny, or whatever it is. I'm appreciating them. I'm grateful for them. And that gratitude is what opens up the connection. And then that connection is what feels so amazing. Does that answer your
Sky,
question?
yes, and a lot more. How do you think the world would change if everybody had a near-death experience?
Oh my goodness. This is why I advocate for meditation so much, and I tell people about the Monroe Institute. It's it's almost, I get emotional thinking about it, because it's like I would not that I want people to have a near death experience, but I want people to have that expansiveness of consciousness, right? If people could have the kind of expansiveness of awareness that I have had. And again, it's available. You download the free Monroe app and start. I mean, you can experience this in 5 minutes with a set of headphones and a smartphone. If everybody were to do this, I think that we would no longer have war. Because it's insane. Like, war is like a type of insanity. It doesn't make any sense from a larger perspective. From a larger perspective, it's just like this sort of like, it's always based on a limited perspective, always. So from a large enough perspective, it doesn't make any sense. I think we would all be vegan. We would no longer feel comfortable enslaving and murdering conscious beings in order to eat when we don't have to. I just think that, like, we wouldn't, it's funny because it's a great theoretical question, because suppose tonight everybody just has this massively expansive awareness of consciousness, so that by tomorrow, and they've just blows them away, so they don't have 9 years of worrying about it like I did. They've just fully opened up by tomorrow. Well, then what? It's like, well, then we still got people in, low. I mean, in this country, we have a thing with not providing health care for people. So it's like we have people in low wage, and I'm buying stuff from that store that's employing these low wage people. There's all this like construct of the economy and all this stuff. And it's like, what would happen? Like, what would happen if all of a sudden I realized the actual human cost of going to a store, right? I want to go to Big Lots and buy a thing, right? And I can tell you, because like I had this experience. Like, I don't buy new clothing except on rare occasions, and except for underwear and socks, because it's like there is no, if you said to me, what is the price? How cheap do we need to make the t-shirt before it's worth people dying over? There is no answer. You couldn't make enough. You couldn't give me 1 million t-shirts to kill, to convince me to kill one human being. It's, yeah. What would it be like if everyone had a near-death experience? I just, I don't know. I can say this. I earnestly urge people to pursue meditation, to pursue expanded awareness, because it is available. I mean, this is 2024 now. Like I said, the Monroe Institute has a free app you can go on, and in 5 minutes, this is what blew me away, because I sort of dabbled with meditation because I had all these experiences and I had all these lucid dreams and all this stuff. And I thought, okay, meditation is probably good, but it's just, I was not disciplined enough to do it. I thought meditation, you got to sit. And you got to sit, you got to sit for a long, you just got to sit, you got to sit for, I don't know, 5 years, 10, you just got to keep sitting, and eventually you'll get it. And what's beautiful about the technology of the Monroe Institute is that with the Monroe Sound Science, and they can, tune your brainwaves. It's kind of like if I put you in a dark room, and I hid your keys, and I said, you got to find your keys. You could find them eventually, right? If you were just meticulous enough, you could search, you could feel your way around, and you could, given a long enough timeline, and depending on how messy your room was or how well I hid them or whatever, it might take a while, but you could eventually find them, right? If I take a flashlight and I shine it on the keys and I say, find your keys, you might bump into stuff on the way over there, right? And you might, stub your toe or whatever like that, but you'll be able to find the keys because you can see right where they are, right? And then if I did that 5 or 10 times, you would start to learn to navigate around so you're not bumping into stuff on the way over there. And eventually I could turn off the flashlight and you could just find your way there and find the keys without the flashlight. And that's what this technology is like. It's like, I don't have to sit and root around in the dark for, months, years, whatever, I can actually, the Monroe sound science technology allows me to tune in, to shine a flashlight on, this is the state that I'm going for. Cause it's not just one. It's not just like either you're meditating or you're not. There's all these, there's layers and layers and layers. There's all these distinct, what the Monroe Institute calls focus levels, but distinct types of meditative states, very creative meditative states, and very, sort of quiet, peaceful, nurturing meditative states, and very expansive, experiencing different, whatever. Anyway, each of these I can find if I'm guided there first. So then I know exactly what to look for. And then I'm guided back, and then I'm guided there, and I know exactly what to look for. I'm guided back. And after I do that, a handful of times or however many times, I learn to go there on my own. And I no longer need the headphones. I no longer need the tapes. I might still use them because it's enjoyable and it supports me or whatever. And, one of the things when you get used to it is that it's easy to get out there. It's easy to go deep and just be, sort of off in space or whatever. So having a tape on where every so often somebody will make a sound or say something like, now remember your purpose, Bob will say, remember your purpose. Oh, that's right. I was supposed to connect with my such and such guy, like I forgot. I was so busy experiencing this other thing, so it can be a useful aid, but that's the point. The point is that with modern technology, we actually have the ability to have people have these expansive experiences.
Well, Sky, it's so interesting. I really enjoy hearing all of your perspectives. Before we go, first of all, I just want to say to everybody listening and watching, please share your thoughts. We would love to hear what you have to say about this, comments, anything like that. Also, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a like, share it with a friend, subscribe. All of that really helps out this channel. And Sky, before we leave, I'd love to have you share just a little bit more about yourself. I know that you are working with Monroe Institute. You're also a mathematician, but just tell us a little bit that you want people to know about you, or if they can connect with you, whatever.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. I'm Sky Pelletier Waterpeace. I do have a website, skywaterpeace.com. It's sky like the big blue thing, water like you drink, peace like world peace. And it's not, I say it's under construction. It's really that I just don't do much with it. But you can link to, from there to, there's a little bit about me, and I am a mathematician. I published 2 textbooks on complex analysis, which is a sort of graduate level type of mathematics. It's very interesting, with my dear friend, the late Tom Osler. I'm a novelist. I have one published novel right now called Sunflowers in the Afternoon. Sometimes I'm a long distance runner. I've written a book on efficient training methods for long distance runners and other endurance athletes. I specialized in running very long distances, but without training very much. It was kind of like an experiment to see, like, how far can I go with how little effort, It's called The Lazy Man's Guide to Ultramarathon Running. A mad mathematician's research-based, easy does it method for optimal training efficiency. So my title is very long-winded, just like I am. I teach undergraduate mathematics at part-time at Rowan University in Southern New Jersey, and also online at Southern New Hampshire University in New Hampshire. But I teach online. I'm a graduate student. I'm a perpetual learner. I'm currently getting a second master's degree in organizational leadership through Southern New Hampshire University. That's fascinating. I'm learning about, management and behavioral science and things like that. I'm a lucid dreamer. I mentioned this before. I'm very fascinated with levels of consciousness from an early age because of, there's the dream awareness, and then sometimes in the dream you're aware that you're in a dream. So you're aware that, you're actually a human being that's having this dream, and all this experience is just quote unquote in your mind. Well, it doesn't take that much of a leap to think, well, all right, well, what if this is like that? Like this is, I'm experiencing what I call the real world, but actually it's just a projection being had, dreamt by, a dreamer, so I call this level 1. Like level 0 is the dream level. And sometimes I bring level 1 consciousness or awareness into level 0. And this is level 1, the so-called waking life. And sometimes I bring level 2 consciousness into level 1, and have that sort of lucidity of regular life. And I don't know what else about me. I guess if you want to get in touch with me, you can hit up my website and check out my books. I do, like I said, I am a trainer from the Monroe Institute. I'm an outreach trainer, which means I run weekend workshops where you can either come to South Jersey and train with me in person, or I also run them online where you can sign up and, we do it like this, like virtually through Zoom, and you get to experience the Monroe Institute technology with me as your trainer, and there's a bunch of them. So it's like, depending on where you are in the world, look them up. There's like 100 outreach trainers around the world. That's one of the cool things about the program, is that even different countries, everything, people can go find a local workshop where they can go and experience this. That's probably, I'm married to an amazing person named Becca Waterpeace. She's, I call her my spiritual partner. She's a deeply, deeply spiritual person, really, quote unquote, perfect match, kind of thing. So, yeah, that's me.
Well, thank you.
That's my character, my persona as a human being this time around.
Well, it's a great persona. And I'm so glad that persona, that you, Sky, joined us today. Before we leave, do you have any parting words of wisdom that you can leave with our audience?
Oh, boy. Yeah. There's something I would like to share something. In the play Our Town by Thornton Wilder, it concerns these two young people. And in the first act, they're sort of like falling in love. In the second act, they get married. And then in the third act, she has died. And she's in a cemetery with these like ghosts, you would call them. And she's talking with the the sort of like narrator God type character, is called the stage manager. And she discovers that even though she's dead, she discovers from these other dead people in the cemetery that she can go back and revisit being a human. And she's delighted because she misses her husband and her child and everything like that. And they say, oh, no, you don't understand. You're not going to want to, though. And she says, no, I really want to. So she goes back, and they tell her, if you're going to go back, pick an ordinary day. Don't pick a special day like your wedding or something like that. Just pick an ordinary. So she goes back to her 12th birthday, and she re-experiences the morning of her 12th birthday. And she sees her mother and she sees her father and oh my gosh, look how young Papa is. And she eventually has to stop because she can't stand it. Because the thing is, she's re-experiencing all the things that she did experience and re-saying all the things that she did say, but from this perspective that she's now dead and she now can't change anything. And it's all like the past or whatever. And it's like overwhelming to her that she just didn't pay attention to it the first time around. Like, she can't stand how ignorant she was. Like, she's overwhelmed with this, my father, he's so young, and look at him, and my mother, and she's not even looking at me, but we're talking, and why aren't we looking at each other? And she finally, and she says to the stage manager, she says, oh, Earth, you're too wonderful for anyone to ever realize you. And then she turns to the stage manager and she says, do any human beings ever realize life while they live it? Every minute. And he says, no. Saints and poets, maybe. They do some. And so my parting words of wisdom, something I like to do, is I like to sometimes stop and imagine that I have died, that all of this persona of Sky Waterpeace is gone and dead. And I am now projected back from wherever my true consciousness is. As an experiment, just for fun, I've put myself back into this body just for the next 5 minutes. I just pick this random date, random time, whatever it is, to re-experience what it was like being a human, but with the awareness that I am so much more than this. And when I do that, let me tell you, you want to ruin a bad mood, right? Somebody says something, you're really irritated at them. I'm annoyed at my wife about something, my dear spiritual partner who I love and adore, but she said something and I'm all annoyed, right? You want to really ruin that annoyed mood, all of a sudden realize, project out to that level 2 consciousness and bring it back in, and suddenly realize, like, wow, what if this was the only 5 minutes that I got back? What if this, it's all gone, and this is the only 5 minutes I get right now? Would I still maintain my resentment, or would I just be in awe of how amazing it is to experience all this, and do what I can to connect with the people, and, look at that person in the eye, whoever it is, whether, the person at Target, who's ringing up my thing, look at them in the eye. And when they say, how you doing? Look at them and say, I'm doing very well. How are you today? And actually, and they might just continue with whatever, because they're not experiencing that 5 minutes of bliss or whatever. But yeah, so that's my parting words of wisdom, is that, if I knew that I had died and was coming back and only had today, and today was the only day I got to experience, and nothing was going to change, I'm not going to go off and, fly to Mauritius and live on the island from now on, I'm going to live my life just like it is, but with that awareness that, oh my God, this is my life right now, then, I can actually be here for it. I can actually be present for it. And that's the point, is to be here. So yeah, that's my words of wisdom from the guy that they call Sky Waterpeace in this body.
Well, actually, that is some of the wisest wisdom out there I've really heard. I mean, that's really an amazing story. I've told my husband a few times, not quite as profound, but when he's complained about the dishes the kids have left out, and I said, well, imagine that you're 80 years old and they're long gone and not around you, and you're going to kind of long for those days when they were here, more present in your life. Yeah. But what you've said is even more powerful.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you so much, Sky. Beautiful words from you. I've really enjoyed talking to you today, and I know people listening really are enjoying this as well.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's truly an honor and a privilege.
Oh, thank you so much. Same here. Okay, so what did you think? I really loved Sky's parting words. I think that is such great advice for life, and we really need to learn. I know I need to learn not to take the little things for granted. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Please leave them in the comments. And then also, if you made it this far, especially if you made it through all 3 episodes, please go ahead and just type in "made it" in the comments. I always appreciate it when you stick around this long. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Thanks for joining me on Beyond with Heather Tesch. Please add comments and questions you'd like future guests to answer. Also, if you liked what you heard, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. That'll help keep this podcast going. You can also go to Beyond with Heather Tesch to look for more episodes.